And good morning and welcome to the VSA Capital 5-Minute Morning Miner, and we're recording it live from Cape Town. I'm Andrew Monk and I've got Paul back in London though.
Yes, that's right. Well, it's bright and sunny here, but pretty cold. How about down there?
No, it's very bright and sunny down here and it's about 29 degrees.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
So anyway, look, the mining in Durban is obviously still going on as we speak. The mining 1-to-1, which is where everybody was at pretty much, there were about 800 so-called investors. Not quite sure they all were investors because they include people like myself. Maybe I'm an investor. But they had over 100 companies presenting, and it was pretty busy. There was obviously still a huge amount of chatter about things like lithium. I think it'd be fair to say that the management of Atlantic Lithium were sort of rock stars down here, everybody chasing after them, trying to get a meeting. So that's still a sort of a hot topic out there. But unfortunately, mining in Durban, as we all know, also is about just doing parties to a certain extent. We did have the VSA Capital Party along with a lot of our fellow sponsors. I won't name them all because there were about 10. And it was absolutely chock-a-block. It was the busiest party we've ever held. So clearly there's a lot of people down here. We had well over 500 guests at our party. That was on Sunday night. But turning back to the mining, I mean, what I would say, and Paul, you then may want to ask me some questions, because this is a little bit of a special just reporting about what's going on down at Indaba, is that what is interesting is that there appears to be quite a lot of retail interest in investing. There's a lot of strategic investors around town, be it the traders and actually the OEMs. What is lacking still, unfortunately, is what I've described as that classic institutional equity funding, which, to be honest with you, I'm not seeing around town. I do sense around town that there's quite a few people talking to each other, though. It was noticeable that quite a few of the companies were going off and huddling with a few of the other companies. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more M&A this year as well. The one other thing, which I can't tell you who the winner is, but this afternoon it is the final of the investment battlefield, and I'm one of the judges. I'm actually still at this stage not sure who is on it, so we'll have to talk about that at another time. But Paul, you got any questions whilst we're doing the 5-minute morning miner?
Yes, I sure do. First of all, do you own any mining shares of your own, Andrew?
I do actually personally.
Then you are an investor. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But they're not actually presenting. The one I own, I think most people know it's Tectonic Gold.
Yeah.
And actually they're probably the most valuable part of their business is not the gold in Australia, but is the mineral sands on the west coast of South Africa. Which is basically, I think, at zero value in their share price, and it potentially has huge value. But they're not here presenting.
I see. And one of the pieces of news is all about the power curtailments in South Africa. Are you experiencing any of those?
Yeah, absolutely. In Johannesburg, where I was last week, the power situation, they were on level 5 load shedding, which means that basically 3 times a day you get 2 hours of no power. The traffic lights don't work. I mean, how can you have moved to an EV society if you can't charge your EV? You couldn't do it at the moment. Cape Town's a bit better. It's only on level 3. But there's certainly, I mean, a lot of discussion within the mining companies that basically the mines have to now basically have their own power, and they will go by putting in solar and wind and batteries. And once the big mining companies go off grid, that actually will allow Eskom a little bit more breathing space to provide everybody else. But it is a really, really serious problem down here.
And are you seeing any of the locally domiciled investment groups or private offices and that sort of thing? Is there any kind of signs that they're taking an interest in mining?
No, I think, I mean, there's still, you know, if you talk around town, be it local ones or international ones, South Africa is still unfortunately an area that people don't really want to invest in, and local South African money, in truth, they would rather go much more international, get their money off the continent of Africa and into nice dollar earnings.
I see. And based on what you're seeing down there, what do you think that will have an impact on us up here this way in the next couple of months? You talked about M&A, for example.
Look, I tell you what I actually think, and again, it's a sort of, everybody is talking about it. We all know that there has been a complete lack of investment into the mining industry now for probably, well, certainly 10 years, if not 15 years. And there is going to be, at some stage, an almighty boom in the natural resources space as people clamour for product. I mean, we already know, and I was talking to some people actually yesterday who do put in solar wind batteries for mining companies, fairly small ones, but they said that for them now to get hold of a lithium ion battery for energy storage, they are waiting between 12 to 18 months to get their battery. He said that is the waiting list because they cannot get immediate delivery. And actually, you're hearing it across the whole piece. You cannot get hold of raw material, which is why the OEMs are coming in and just going, you know what, we'll just buy the raw material direct because we've got, or buy the mine. So we've got to have our own supply. So I think we are going to see, and again, it's talked down here, we are going to probably see a huge boom in the commodity space for the next 10 years, but it'll be completely different players putting the money in it. It will be, the EV manufacturers, the battery manufacturers, just because the fund managers just aren't there. So I think there will be an amazing cycle. It's okay for retail because they can play, but it'll all be strategic.
Okay. Any final words?
Look, I mean, it's the only final word I'd have is we did host a very good party on Sunday, but there's a surplus of funds that comes out of it. And actually tomorrow, Paul, I think, I go up to the COSASA project, which is my way of giving a little bit back. We will be donating to the COSASA project, which is a school that we've built in Franschhoek to break the cycle of poverty. We will be giving them R250,000, which is only about just over £10,000, but it makes a massive difference to the children. And that's what we're trying to do, is give a bit back at the same time as having a lot of fun.
Great news there. Glad to hear you're having a successful time out there.
So we'll call it a day. I'll be back on Monday doing the standard podcast, but I'll leave you, Paul, to carry on doing it with whoever you are, David or somebody, for the next 2 days. So
yep,
see you when I'm back.
Very good.